Hey everybody, Dewey here with a deck profile that nobody asked for. I went 6-3 in Swiss at YCS Indy, which for those counting at home is 18 points, and you needed 19 points for top cut. Very sad, but very fun for us. Go Traptrix in 2023. A few things we're going to do. We will do a deck profile, if my cat lets me, and then I'll do some match review just to tell you which matchups I had and which cards were good and which cards were bad. And then before we even get started, let me do a couple shout-outs. First of all, to my opponents in Swiss, everyone was super nice, very civil, very kind, 0 judge calls in 9 rounds. That is pretty impressive if you've ever been to a big event. And then a shout out to friends from Chicago locals, Chris and Memo, for always making sure that I'm supplied with the cards that I need. Very kind of them. And then, people like Ava, Lane, Tommy, Sergio, Angel, Vince, and our hometown hero, Oscar, who made top 32. Thank you all for putting up with me and my shenanigans every week, and thank you for also reading all the Abyss Actor cards. Really appreciate that. And then also, thank you to the Gods of Luck, because I had some crazy pulls, including the quarter century secret rare Sinful Spoils, and then also this bad boy, Typhon. Very nice. Anyway, let us get started with this deck profile. All right, Traptrix. The new field spell, pretty crazy, and yet I'm only playing one. Really good, but it is bricky if you draw it and no Traptrix monsters, which happens sometimes. 3 Pudica, because she searches the field spell, and she often baits an interruption, which is really nice. I'm often activating Pudica to search this, even if I don't have any other monsters in hand, and that will eat an Ash, which is great. Then I just set 4 pass. 3 Moraleo, crazy card, both searching the trap, the whole normal trap, and popping things, not once per turn. Neither of those effects are once per turn, by the way. Incredible. I was popping things a lot with Murmileo, especially after doing Anti-Spell, which is in the side, and we'll get there. 3 Mantis, just like Murmileo, not once per turn search on a Traptrix monster. Her back row effect I wasn't using a ton, but if I thought I was going to get evenly matched, I sometimes would to return something to hand. There's also times where you can set something with Sarah, return it to your hand, and then use that as a pitch for a Holatea that maybe you drew for turn or something. Very useful. 2 Dionea. 2 is enough. 3 can be a little bricky, but you do want 1 to summon off of Sarah to reset something, and then 1 to search later to normal summon to special summon something back from the graveyard. And then I was only playing 1 Arachnacampa, which I felt conflicted about because I really liked opening her in my previous builds. I was running her at 2 or 3 because she's such an easy way to trigger Sarah if you have any other Traptrix monster. But honestly, having just 1 was okay. And then 1 Vesiculo. There are times where you need an extra extender and another body, and she can let you OTK in situations where otherwise you might not be able to because you can't get enough bodies. And then Honorary Traptrix Monster, Holatea, best card in the deck, custom card. Just a trap monster that you can activate on your first turn, much like Shade Brigandine. Very nice. And then I have a trap hole lineup that not everyone agrees with, and that is okay. Gravediggers is the one that everyone agrees on because it protects you from Nibiru. And this protected me from Nibiru so many times during this tournament. Very useful. Also can come up in time. You can win games because you just randomly burn your opponent for 2,000 when they try to play the game. Floodgate, also pretty universally agreed on as one of the most useful trap holes. Doesn't target, doesn't destroy, flips a deck face down permanently. Obviously very bad against links, but you can do it to the materials that they're trying to amass for the links. Trap Hole Nightmare, also pretty universally acknowledged as one of the good trap holes. Negate and destroy a monster that is trying to activate its effect the turn that it was summoned. Very useful. Sometimes you can defensively set up a Rafflesia on your turn if your opponent has done some setup and is going to be summoning things. Doesn't come up that often, but it can. And here's some ones that I run that other people often don't, but that I love. Time Space, non-targeting, bounces an extra deck monster to extra deck after it is summoned. You lose a little bit of life points, which is awkward in time, but it's often very worth it. It's also, if your opponent pendulum summons, you can shuffle all of those into the deck. Didn't come up, but shuffling things like the Unchained Link 2 into the extra deck, not destroying it, very useful. Shuffling a Mirror Jade into extra deck, not destroying it, very useful. And then this was specifically for the Unchained matchup, which actually did come up, not in the main event, but in the regional that I played afterwards. Banishing Trap Hole. It's one of the newer trap holes. Non-targeting banish face down when your opponent summons a monster at all. This is one of the trap holes, kind of like Floodgate, that doesn't care if it's special summoned or normal summoned. So this is really useful for getting rid of like a Pearly normal summon or a Pearly special summon from anywhere. Super cool. That is actually all of the Traptrix cards. Very fun. It's 22 engine for those people who are counting at home. And then I will show you what we're doing with the other 18 cards, because we are playing a crisp 40. I'm sorry I'm not as fast at this as other people on the internet, but that's okay. All right, 3 prosperity because I bought it for Flu and I still have it. It's really great. You can use it early if you think you want to find a parallel before you link 1. That's often very nifty. Speaking of parallel, here. A thing about prosperity though is in grind games, if I had prosped for 6, like in an act of desperation, I would often lose because I didn't have enough extra deck resources. So I started just doing 3 if I was going first and had most of what I needed. Maybe just wanted one other piece. Would recommend trying prosp for 3. Honestly, super helpful. 3 torrential tribute. We're in the we've moved out of the extenders into the non-engine traps. This won me so many games. People were not playing around it. They were not expecting it. They thought maybe, at most they would lose 1 monster to one of my traps. But the fact that this, is basically a quick effect Raigeki, because all of your monsters are unaffected, of course, is awesome. Because if you have Rafflesia out, none of your monsters will die, because Rafflesia is unaffected by traps and she protects all of your main deck monsters from destruction. Very useful. 3 Imperm. I felt okay about this. It was often never enough to stop my opponent from comboing off if I was going second and this was in my hand, so I would save it sometimes to try to bait an interruption just on my turn. This used to be a D barrier, and I kind of missed main decking D barrier, because you can even if you're going second, if you're allowed to set multiple things, you can then often torrential D barrier combo on their turn. But it is what it is. We'll see how I feel about that. Okay, this is unequivocally maybe the best card in the deck. 3 evenly matched. Came in the structure deck, and it is insane. People are not playing around it game 1, so if they run the die roll and they set up their cute little combo board, and you go second, and then you just move directly to battle, they will be shocked and surprised and horrified when you activate that card. And then for the last 3 slots, I couldn't really decide, but I was having trouble playing into combo heavy boards and boards with a lot of interaction. And a single Imperm wasn't going to cut it. So I did throw in 3 Dark Ruler No More, which seems desperate, right? But you're often not OTKing into a board anyway. So losing the damage is kind of whatever. Because usually you're able to either get into Zeus, get into Baguska, or something that can sort of slow down your opponent while you slowly amass resources. This also won me so many games. Against Sprite boards, it was so clutch. Against some other combo boards, I would just do this first. All their monster interactions were turned off, and so that I only had to worry about the back row. And obviously once Sarah's up, their back row is probably a trap, so what are they going to do about that? So that is the main deck. That was 9 going second cards if you count Imperm, and then 6 extenders. Seems like a nice ratio for us. For the extra deck, we have, of course, 3 of our fair Lady Sarah. Best Link 1 ever printed, maybe. Just go +2 every turn for no reason, including your opponent's turn. I play 2 Rafflesia. Some people think you should only play 1, but making double Rafflesia often won me games after, post-sighting, because my opponents would side in back row removal, but I would also end on 2 Rafflesia. So, even if they had something for back row, and Arachne Campa wasn't there to protect it, I would still have these 2 interactions. And just Rafflesia's targeting protection and destruction protection is iconic. We love her. 1 Alamaris. This is how you close out games usually. You're summoning back a Boudica to banish something, to clear something. If you make it with 3 materials, you summon back a Boudica, banish something, Alamaris other effect, detach, summon the thing that you just banished to your field in attack position, and then kill them with their own monster. Always fun. Pinguicula. We love an extra deck searcher, and the fact that she becomes unaffected is really annoying for decks like Unchained, because you can attach one of their monsters, and now she's unaffected by traps and fiend monsters, and they don't have a lot of other ways to get rid of her, especially if she's protected from battle protection by something like Rafflesia or the field spell. And then Atypus. So good. I've thought about messing around with 2 Atypus, because her effects are only a soft once per turn, and the attack buff would stack. but that seems a little cray-cray, so I'm not going to do that. I ended up not using her popping effect very often, but I did use the attack boost to close out games so much. Because once you have a bunch of little bodies on board, this 1,000 stacking 3 or 4 times, incredible. That's all the Traptrix monsters in the extra deck. But I have some honorary Traptrix that I will show you right now. Okay, this one people disagree on, but I love. Number 70, Malevolent Sin. This card lets you detach a material to target a monster your opponent controls, banish it until the end phase, and that's it. Seems not very good, right? But 2400 attack is nothing to laugh at. It's an insect, which means you can make it under Arachnocampa's insect and plant lock, and then if you make it with either Allomeris or Pinguicula on the field, you get to do a little something extra special. If Allomeris is on the field with a material, you then get to detach a material from her, steal that monster from their banish zone to your field permanently, and then in the end phase it just doesn't come back to their field. Same thing with Pinguicula. Pinguicula can eat the monster you temporarily banish and attach it as material, and then it will not come back. Very, very nice. Dweller. I feel really bad for my opponent in the regional. I Dweller anti-spelled. He was playing Unchained and he was very upset, and I understand because that's really hard to play the game after I do that. Dweller's incredibly good. If you're playing into a tier board, if they let you get to Dweller, you activate Dweller, you attack something, you make Zeus, you clear their whole board, nothing can trigger in the graveyard. Kind of awesome. Baguska. Getting to this is okay. The fact that SP was in this tournament made this a lot harder to use, and I lost a match because I thought Baguska would save me against Pearly as an act of desperation, and then they simply just made SP and banished it. Miserable. Zeus. So good, so good, so good. Who else do we have here? We have also the Earth Charmer. Sometimes, like, if Parallel Exceed or something gets interrupted and you have like 2 random bodies on board, you might want to make something else, or you might need to search an engine piece. You can Crash also to do that, or something I did in my round against Kashtira is I just summoned Fenrir, and now I have a Fenrir, which is great. And if you have any other extra plants or insects on the field, you can then go into Atypus, because she just requires 2+ monsters, including an insect or plant. SP Little Knight. This was a Kularia, but I didn't have this in time for the event, the main event, so this was Kularia. SP Little Knight was way better. Going into a board and making this on my turn, I was often activating the first Banister effect, but wouldn't get a chance to use the second one, so I would just link off into Atypus and then clear their whole board and set up some interruptions for their turn. Crazy card. I need to play around with it a little bit more to figure out the best way to use it. But as we discussed with Malevolent Sin, those temporary banishes, you can make permanent by eating them or reborning them with your Traptrix monsters. And then, Underworld Goddess. Crazy card. Did this into Kashtira to get rid of their Xyz. Incredible. All right, now onto the side. There was a lot of different decks in the format, but there was a few I wanted to be especially prepared for. One of them was Pearly, so we got Kaijus. Why this one and not the others? Gamma Seal has a lower attack but higher defense, which makes it annoying to get over if I don't kill it. Also, I didn't want to give Tier Elements an Aqua that they could just use to make Kaleidoheart. Probably wouldn't come up that often, but whatever. It's a 200 attack point difference, so that's what I did. Harpies for back row decks. Cosmic Cyclone for back row decks. Also for things like Anti-Spell, which I don't think most people would side against me, but maybe if knowing I might side spells, they could. Herald of the Abyss, also for Pearly. Lightning Storm for front row or back row decks. I used both modes of it throughout my many matches. So these are all going second things that I would side, and then the going first things that I would side are Different Dimension Ground, Shifter, but a normal trap, and it doesn't banish your traps. You really need Holitea in Graveyard, I think, if you want to win. Dimensional Barrier. Usually if I saw this, I would win. I kind of missed it in the main deck, to be honest, just to have something to chain if my back row is going to get blown out to trigger Sarah. I also used it end phase a lot, even if I didn't need to use its main effect, to trigger Sarah, to get another body on field, to pop their back row before they got a chance to use it. Super useful. And then this also won a lot of games. This should probably be banned, just like Imperial Order is banned. Or limited, because it feels so unfair to win games when you do this and Dweller, but that is what the game has become. So going first, I would take out, obviously, the 3 evenly and the 3 Dark Ruler for these 6. Going second, I would take out the Torrential Tributes, sometimes the Imperm, depending. And then sometimes I would take out 3 Parallel Exceed. Sometimes I wouldn't, because if I knew that getting to Bagooska would hurt, I would maybe keep 2 in. It just depended. But yeah, usually not all of these would come in, just some permutation depending on what I was playing against. Great. So now let's take a look at some of our matches. So round 1, I played against a Synchron player who was very kind. Rigoberto, thank you for your time and kindness. That was a 2-0. First game, he had Nibiru, but no real way to play through interruption. So I used Gravediggers on my turn, and then reset it with Dionea on his turn, and then turn 3, when I was amassing combo to kill him, he tried to Nibiru again, and I just Gravediggers again, at which point he was at 4,000 life points and I killed him. Game 2, I think I bricked, but... Oh no, I had like one way to get to Sarah. I think he hand-trapped me, and then he had full combo, but it required him to do Junk Converter from hand, and then I Gravediggers Trap Hold the Junk Converter, so he went -1, and then couldn't play after that, which was awesome. He showed me his combos afterward, and it was like really long and scary, and I probably would have died if he had been able to combo off, so don't let people do that. Great. Round 2 was against Kashtira. I played someone named Clay, super nice. It turns out that we have a pretty good matchup into Kashtira because you can Floodgate, Trap Hole, like the special summon of a Fenrir, and they're stuck with a face-down body on field. I think I won the die roll, and then he normal summoned the little Rise Heart, which meant I was expecting like maybe a Theosis in hand, and he had slapped down not different Dimension Ground, but Dimensional Fissure, so I knew it was actually Kashtira, not fake Kashtira. So I Banishing Trap Hold a Rise Heart because that has 1,500 attack, which was great. And then game 2 I lost because I forgot that the field spell can pop things when Shangri-Ira activates its effect. I had normal summoned something, made Sarah. I had Arachnacampa in hand. They activated Fenrir effect targeting Sarah, so I chained Arachnacampa in hand while I could. But I had another way to play. I think I had a trap or something. So then Fenrir popped the Fenrir banished Sarah, and then the field spell got to trigger after Shangri-Ira triggered because of Fenrir, and then just popped Arachnacampa, which was miserable. And then game 3, I did get Kaiju'd, but I still won because I had enough interruption, and that was great. Yay, Arise Heart being dead. Match 3, I played against a guy named Ruben, who is an incredible player. I think he made top cut. He must have. He's like a former bounty player in other major tournaments. I got 2-0'd. He was playing tier, and he won the die roll, and the first card he activated was Card Destruction, and I had no response. And I was like, well, we will simply die. And we did. But he was super nice, but really knew what he was doing. Oh yeah, I got Lightning Stormed game 2. That was what happened. I had Sarah, 2 Cosmic Sets, a Floodgate Trap Hole, and an Imperm. I didn't have a way to get to Rafflesia, and then he just activated Lightning Storm on my back row, and none of that is trainable, so I simply died. Yeah, real rough. Match 4, I played against Sprite. I think this was pure Sprite, but maybe it was Tri-Sprite. I don't remember. I did win the die roll, and the game 1 I won because he did Nimble Beaver, normal summon, got out another Nimble Beaver, and I might have just torrentialed right there, and then I think I won. Game 2, I lost. I think he just set up a board that I couldn't break with what I had in my hand. And then game 3, I lost because I did something so dumb. He ended the turn with an IP and like a red, I think, and an attack position Nerval that he wasn't able to use for some reason. I forget why. And I ended the turn with like a Holatea in graveyard, and a bunch of monsters in graveyard, and then the only thing on my field was a Dimensional Barrier that I hadn't needed to use and couldn't use on the links. So what I did was, in end phase of his turn, I Holatea banished to summon Sarah back, and then in standby phase of my turn, I used D-Barrier to trigger Sarah to get out Pudica to banish the IP before main phase so that they couldn't go into SP, but then he just chained red to negate and destroy Pudica, I think. I think the Sarah, maybe he let resolve, or maybe he negated the Sarah entirely. Whatever it was, I was then left with like no way to play after that, sadly. Oh, no. Pudica did resolve to banish IP. He let me do that. And then next turn he got Jet back and Blue back because they were banished. I didn't notice that they were banished. And then Pudica just kind of screwed me over. Oh well. What I should have done is gone to the battle phase, not used Holotea in his end phase, and just gone to battle, and then used Holotea in the battle phase to summon back one of my bigger Traptrix monsters to beat over IP. And then in main 2, I could have done whatever I wanted because there wouldn't have been a level 2 on field for red to negate anything with. You live, you learn. Match 5, I played against Zarakhan, 5th rate duelist. She was super nice. She was playing Pearly. You should follow her if you're not following her. She's great. Game 1, I got happy OTK'd because Sarah was protected by Rafflesia, so she didn't even need to delicious it. She just attacked into Sarah a million times and I died. Sarah was at like 100 attack by the end of that attack stream. So miserable. Game 2, I won because I drew anti-spell that I had sighted in. Game 3, it was so rough. She had a 7 material Noir. Yikes. My friend that she had protected with Happy the previous turn, and then the field spell. And I had Lightning Storm and a Kaiju, but I couldn't destroy my friend once because of Happy Memories effect. So I still did the Lightning Storm to at least blow up the field spell and take, that protection off of my friend. And then I Kaiju Noir. And then I kind of had a way to play, but not fully. So I ended up making Baguska, which was such a poor decision because I was like, okay, that'll at least stop the Pearly monsters because she got 2 Pearly spells back, I think. She had 4 cards in hand. And so I was like, that'll at least stop the Pearly triggers and maybe prevent this imminent death. And then I forgot a Sarah trigger. She told me after we played that I forgot, and if I had remembered, it might have changed things. Because then she was able to summon a cat and not use its effect because of Baguska, make Anima, not use its effect because there was no zone, because I was playing around Anima very cleverly, but then use the Anima and the Kaiju that I did not get rid of to make Little Knight and banish Baguska. And I didn't have anything to stop that, unfortunately. And from there, I just got happy OTK'd again, because she used her other quick play to get out, I think, a Lily, and then just make happy again and smash me in the face. I think I had the field spell even too. So Sarah was protected a few times. Forget exactly what happened, but it was GG's after that. Match 6, my opponent didn't show up, so I played someone else next to me whose opponent also didn't show up. He was playing Exosister and I 2-0'd him, which was kind of awesome. I feel like he went first the first game, and maybe he had activated Shifter. I forget exactly what I drew, but I think I had a Torrential Tribute that I used on his turn and took all the bodies off the field. And from there, he was kind of stuck. Because I think maybe he drew one of the names that he needed to summon out of the deck, so his trap was dead. Which honestly, I didn't even know could happen. That sounds rough for sisters. And then round 7, I played Maxwell from Canada, who was playing super heavy Samurai, sort of like pendulum synchro stuff. Game 1, I think I lost because I got ashed on Pudica, and then I had another name in hand, and then I had 3 evenly. Yes, I had 3 evenly in my hand going first. It was really rough. And then I just got full comboed and destroyed. Game 2, Torrential won me the game because I just cleared a ton of bodies at once with Torrential. In Game 3, he had left all of his stuff in attack position, and so I Dark Rulered, and then I Lightning Stormed. And that was it. The first turn, I had Imprim in my hand while he was comboing, and I was like, if he gets to the counter trap with Denglong, I'm toast. But with Denglong, he searched a monster, I think, and then with one of the Zephyr monsters was trying to search the trap, and I Imprimed that, and so there was no back row to stop the Dark Ruler. So Dark Ruler Lightning Storm did it for me. Murmalea was able to pop both CLs, and after that, it was GG's, which is awesome for me. Match 8, we did We played against Sprite. It's actually the pen I'm using right now. Thank you, Harold, of Harold's Discount Furniture in Arkansas. If you're ever there, support him. Super nice guy. I think it was just 2 games. First game, I drew Dark Ruler. And then I made Sarah and I beat over Caddy, and then I had 2 torrentials in my hand. So on his turn, I think I just torrentialed a couple times, and then all the bodies were gone, which was awesome. Game 2, I Dark Rulered, and then I beat over Gigantic and SP and Caddy with my Traptrix monsters. And then he had no follow-up that could play through that, which was awesome. And then round 9, I played Sprite again, but this was Runic Sprite. A guy named Omar, super nice. He couldn't get to the field spell, which really slowed down the Runic part of his engine. Game 1, he went first, and then I just went to battle, and he was very surprised and disgruntled, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but I am going to evenly you. And he didn't have Carrot out, so he could not negate it. Game 2, he OTK'd me with Ninja Shadow Mosquito, which was kind of awesome. Not gonna lie, it was cool to see. It was on a defense position Zeus that I had from the previous turn, because it had gone back and forth a few turns. And then finally, the game 3 I won because I had Anti-Spell, Pudica, Torrential, Holitea, and then Traptrix and Nightmare. So Pudica got Ash, but it didn't matter because I didn't have any other names in hand. And then we were going into time, and so the anti-spell seemed to be a problem. He ended up evenlying me, and I kept the anti-spell, just kind of like praying that I would top deck a monster. And then I did, and he wasn't able to play without the anti-spell going away, which was good for me. And that was all 9 rounds. So yeah, Traptrix, we love them. They're super fun. I gotta think about what changes I would make. I gotta think about the imperms more. I might change that. But thanks again to everybody I played, everybody who supported me in this process, all the people at Locals who played against me as I was testing. And if you have any ideas about this, let me know down in the comments below. And you don't need to make a joke about the gay man playing the whole archetype. It's been done, okay? It's been done. All right, everyone, have a good one.